Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule on Hustler Casino is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Mandalay Mario Lopez. What a memorable bout we are going to talk about.
Ironically, I was not at Mandalay. You were, which we're going to get into, but only because I had to work. But man, I was so excited. Quick shout out though to Smoking Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits. The bout sheet for today's show: Battle at the Bay, Bohachuk Ortiz, Angelo Leo with the stunning upset over Ignacio Lopez. Fight review, preview, and we have Ask Mario. But first, we want to let you know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino, who is giving away $50,000 in cash drawings. Come play poker in Hustler Casino's Crystal Room for a chance to win $2,000 every other hour from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Saturday in August. Located just 15 minutes from downtown L.A. in Gardena. Stop by for your chance to win big money.
Round 1.
All right, so let's get started from the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, brought to you by Golden Boy Promotions on the Zone and the new WBC Interim Junior Middleweight Champion of the World, the pride of Grand Prairie, Texas, Virgil Ortiz. He had the battle, but he gutted it through, winning a 12-round majority decision over the game, Sergey Bohachuk. Mario, before we get into the particulars of the fight, in your view, as of right now, is it in the pole position for the 2024 Fight of the Year?
Salute to the fight.
Yes.
Salute to the flight. And slow 80s clap.
Oh, wow. You got to give
Slow 80s clap.
Oh, wow. Good job, fellas.
Whatever you think of the scoring, we got perhaps the fight of the year and the knockout of the year on the same night in main events that didn't cost pay-per-view money. That was outstanding and a rare, gratifying night for fight fans. Much, much deserved, especially for fight fans that stick through it thick and thin. And I unfortunately was not there in person like you were. I had to work. But my work was during the day, so then I went to catch the Dodgers, who looked good up against that kid Skeens, who was probably the Rookie of the Year from Pittsburgh. They were on fire that night, who ironically, he's from L.A. Anyway, I got home late after the game. I didn't go on social media purposely. You didn't call me, which I appreciate, and tell me any updates, so I didn't know what was going to happen. All I asked you was, when's it starting, and I wanted to make sure it was over. So I saw the fight, and here's the deal. Excuse me. Got my mind's all over the place with this. Awesome fight. Like I said, I thought it should be fight of the year. I had it 6-6. And I could see how people can have it maybe 7-5, Virgil. But with the knockdowns, granted, even if they were flash knockdowns, they were knockdowns nonetheless. You get hit, you go down, they're knockdowns. Props to Ortiz for his brilliant recuperative powers, because he hit that canvas, got back up, and answered in a very impressive fashion. But knockdowns nonetheless. They happened so quick it made you question them, and they even had to overturn it. Because when I was watching it, I wanted to call you right away, and I was like, that was a knockdown. Why didn't they call it? But shortly thereafter, they did the right thing. They saw the replay.
Before round 5.
But it took them a second. I'm like, ooh, that might come back and haunt them. But then in round 8, when it happened again, and there was no debating that. Those were 2 knockdowns. And again, it's a great fight, but I'm not sure how you can say that the guy that got dropped twice and whose face looks like it did after the fight landed the more effective and cleaner shots. His shots definitely look better as they were faster, but looks are deceiving. I gave Ortiz a lot of props for finding another gear, answering questions as far as his character, his toughness, his grit, because prior to that, he was always asking the questions. Yeah. He was always getting guys at it in the first 2 rounds. Look, Virgil came out of the gates fast and furious like he always does. He did land really effective blows. It looked like the cleaner shots. He put a lot of pressure on him, but at the same time, it was Bohachuk who was methodically marching forward. Virgil answered with a lot of heart and responded well to the adversity. I have a whole new level of respect for him. But at the same time, I thought he was battling a little ring rust, inactivity, right? It's his first 154-pounder that he's actually made, right? His first 154. And I thought they put on an awesome show. You almost need like a cigarette after watching that show, going through it. But I thought Bohachuk was so smart in how he stuck to his game plan. That jab was effective from the beginning, was pumping it out, and he would follow up with that nice 1-2. I would have liked him to work the body a little bit more, but once he did go in inside, he was catching with some nice little uppercuts. But he's one of those guys, Kim, and I was telling you, like, he always kind of looks like he's kind of off balance, and when he gets hit, it looks like it's much more effective.
The word is gangly.
Yes, he's a gangly guy. So when, right, it's like, from the beginning though, before he even got hit, he just looks gangly and a little awkward. So when he's going to get hit, it looks like it might be more effective. They were saying he was hurt. Was he?
Yeah.
I don't know, because he didn't take any steps backwards and his face looked awfully clean at the end. So he was just, it was almost to like his detriment, his style, but he was consistent with his jab, his straight ramrod-like jab, following up with that right hand. When he got onside, he did some nice work with the uppercuts. Ortiz did a brilliant job in making a little bit some adjustments in boxing, and the way he would respond to the knockdowns, he was closing the show out strong. To be honest, I thought at worst it should have been a draw, but when you do the math, if you get 2 knockdowns, you only need to win 5 rounds, and I think Bohachuk may have done just that. I want to tip my hat to both gentlemen because they left it all out there, but I think you got to kind of give them the nod, just mathematically speaking. Am I wrong?
Well, let me take the other side, and this is from someone who had Bohachuk up by 114, 113. Now, the cards that really matter, 113, 113, and 2 cards at 114, 112. So, Mario, in theory, you are right. In a fight that has 2 knockdowns on one side, if each guy wins 6 rounds, if you go 10-8 on both those rounds, the guy that scores the 2 knockdowns wins. However, keep this in mind, and I hear this a lot. Well, that has to be a 10-8 round. No, it does not. It is actually up to the discretion of the judges.
Did one of the judges give round 8 a 10-9 round?
I know I did.
Because of the way Ortiz answered?
Yes. The first one I went 10-8. The second one I went 10-9. So when people say it has to be 10-8, no, it does not. And the general rule of thumb is you have to at least control the other part of the round and not get beat up in it. Well, so there is an argument that the 6-6 could have been a draw in that instance.
A valid argument, because if there was ever a reason to score it at 10-9 was in that round. Like I said, the way Ortiz, and I was so impressed with his character. He really seemed to, when he got caught, answer it so well, and he dealt with adversity. So I've never seen someone bounce up so back and come back with such a fury. So he responded really, really well. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think a draw, I would have been a lot more comfortable had it been a draw. How was it in person? So tell me how it was in person.
Unbelievable fight. There's ebbs and flows, and early on, you thought the speed and the quickness, as expected, with Virgil Ortiz was kind of controlling things. But as you said, there is this awkward gangliness that is very deceptive as it relates to Sergey Bohachuk. And Robert Garcia, and I asked him, he was surprised that the jab and the right hand from the mid-range was actually as effective. Here's the interesting thing about Ortiz, and you're right, his competitive character, it's an intangible that you don't know about till you have to see it. I've never actually seen a guy fight as well and as hard immediately after a knockdown the way he did.
Never have seen it. That's what I'm saying. I was so impressed with his character.
There have been guys like Juan Manuel Marquez and Trinidad who got better after knockdowns, but it would be an erosion. He exploded.
Both times.
In the last 3 rounds, 10, 11, 12, I thought Bohachuk was in control and had exactly what he wanted into the deep waters. And Virgil Ortiz was like that guy who's like a mile and a half from shore. Water's getting into his lungs, and you're thinking, this guy's going to drown. But somehow, some way, he found it to shore, and he won 2 of the 3 last rounds in my book. That's where he kind of may have won the fight. Now, in my view, here's the issue, though. Looking at Virgil Ortiz on the big screen and coming out of the ring, and he was hospitalized, I do wonder, is it one of those fights that has that residual effect? You go in one way and you come out another. That's the concern that I have.
For both fighters.
Yes.
He's young. He seemed to be in really good spirits. I know he was taken to the hospital, but a lot of questions were answered as far as how he dealt with adversity, the true character. We just talked about a response to the knockdowns. I was very, very impressed with both fighters, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone handle a loss the way Bohachuk did. He was a gentleman. He was smiling. Yeah. He looked great.
I saw him at dinner when he came back, and I think he realized, you know what? Like Madrimov, but even more so because of the nature of the fight.
Right.
In losing, there can be winning.
Correct.
But on the flip side, Mario, in winning, can there be losing? Like what Terrence Crawford got a dose of reality in the Madrimov fight in a sense that, you know what? You're not ready for super middleweight and Canelo. I have a question for you. Based on what you saw, is Virgil Ortiz really ready for a Terrence Crawford?
I want to see it. If we're going to play this, are they ready? Yeah. Terrence is never going to fight anybody.
Yeah.
Bud's never going to fight anybody. Sure. After this, I definitely want to see it. And I know His Excellency Turkey Al-Sheikh was there and talking about
He was wheeling and dealing that night.
Well, you know, it's funny because when you start putting the cart before the horse,
right?
Like he did with Crawford and Canelo, and I know we're going to get into that later. It was a very close fight when Madrimov, and all of a sudden the jets cooled on that one. So he kind of threw a monkey wrench as an own thing. He started before this fight talking about the possibility of Ortiz and Crawford. That almost got a monkey wrench thrown in it.
Larry Merchant once taught me, Steve, there's a reason why you fight the fights.
That's exactly right. So, you know, maybe we pump the brakes a little bit until they actually happen. You don't want to jinx anyone, but obviously I love what he's doing for the sport and everything. Do I think Ortiz is ready for Crawford? Yes, why not? If not now, then when? And Crawford's what, 36, 37?
Yeah.
If anything, he's shown how much heart and resilience I want to see. He's a young, hungry guy. He went up against a really, really tough guy in 54 in Bohachuk. Yes, if not now, when? Let's do it.
Right, and maybe the question should have been, does he match up well with Crawford?
Okay, that is different.
That's a different question.
That's a different question. And Crawford, I think, is the kind of guy that you stand right in front of him and you're going to throw. It may be, it could be tough, but look, we saw Ortiz make adjustments, so maybe he makes adjustments, for Crawford too. So
Mario, look at the landscape at 54 as it stands now. The WBA belt held by Crawford. WBC and WBO, parts of it by Sebastian Fundura. You still have the Thunder from down under, Tim Tszyu, Israel Madrimov, and now Bohachuk, and who knows if Charlo's ever going to come back.
It's an exciting division
That's
now.
A deeper cast than Heat.
That is an exciting division. All of a sudden, junior middleweights become a major player.
Right, so I'm just going to tell you, I don't know what's going to happen the next 3.5 months to close out 2024. It's going to take a hell of a prize fight to overcome this for Fight of the Year. That's just my view.
I absolutely agree with you. No clinching, no holding. That was some elite level stuff. That was a war, and a highly skilled war at that, gentlemen.
You know, Mario, when me and you spend time together, holidays, we hang out, we always say, let's watch something. We always say, let's throw on a fight. Well, all I know is this. This is now in the rotation.
Yes. Well, like when my dad comes up, who's not here, unfortunately. He was here.
Yeah, we missed him, by the way. He was the third edition. He was very, very popular
come back. Yes, he was. So whenever, because my dad's so old school, he doesn't know how to do streamers or he doesn't, require. So I keep all the fights and I bring them up. So I know what fights to keep in the story. This is a fight. Wait, am I going to save this for my dad to watch it? This is one of them. Exactly.
All right.
You know what's another one? Is the other one that night.
When we will talk about that when we come back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino.
Catch the streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by the way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans!
What? I read it twice!
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Raise it up.
All right, we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule, and we want to let you know, are you looking to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our fine program? We have some spots available. Please email info at boxbid.io. Once again, that's info at boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on Boxbid. Boxbid.io handles our sponsorships, and we are proudly working with them.
Review preview.
All right, there was other boxing this past weekend from the Tingley Coliseum in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the new IBF featherweight champion of the world, Angelo Leo, with a blistering left hook, ends it in violent, sudden fashion against Venado Lopez. Wow.
You know, we were high on Venado, and he's got that peculiar, sort of awkward style, but it's been to his benefit, and it was a very close fight. Going into that, and it was one of those things where I don't know if it would, the bad habits caught up to him, combined with perfect timing. But what a beautiful left hook that has got to be knockout of the year so far. Bravo! All of a sudden, there's a new player in the division.
You know, going into round number 10, two judges had it 86-85 for the challenger. 86-85 for Venado. So that fight is up for grabs.
Right.
Both guys are getting touched. I thought beforehand, and I tweeted it, I said, Angelo Leo is going to be a very tough, solid challenge. The reason why is he's not spectacular, but he's much more sound fundamentally. And you saw that his punches were more compact. It was right up the middle. And some of the mistakes that Alberto Lopez has gotten away with in the past, he got hit with the perfect shot. And when I saw the split screen on ESPN Plus State of the Game, both guys were in tears for different reasons. It was just really a stunning scene. The agony of defeat and the thrill of victory.
Well, the thing about Venado, and it's been to his benefit, is his sort of
Awkwardly effective.
And sometimes when you go up against a guy who is fundamentally sound and compact and is able to catch you when you're vulnerable in one of those moments, even though you don't think you're vulnerable, that's what can happen. I don't know if you can change a guy like Venado, because that's what happened. And I don't know if you want to. It's just sometimes in this sport, that's what happens.
At that age, the die is cast. He is who he is. He's what he is. It's not going to really change. And sometimes when you try to change a guy for the better, it makes him worse.
Right.
This is what he knows. This is what he does. Interesting story. Friday night, I'm at the Mandalay Bay ceremonial weigh-in, and our old friend Julian Chua from Brickhouse Boxing has a stable of world-class fighters. We're just talking, some downtime.
He had a fighter that night, too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And he said, you know, Steve, I used to room with Angelo Leo and his father way back when I was first in L.A. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, me and another guy, and Angelo Leo and his father, we had just come to L.A., we all stayed in a one-bedroom apartment. I go, what do you mean? He goes, it was $800. It's all we can afford. We used to have bunk beds. I mean, Leo really is like this hard luck story that we love about boxing. Here's a kid that came out to sacrifice.
That's great.
He had fought Stephen Fulton for a world title, shelled for a couple of years. And I want to give ProBox credit. He signed with ProBox that kept him busy, sharpened his tools, got his shot, and he delivered. So congratulations to him.
That's an awesome story.
And I think Johnny Tapio would be proud. Viva Albuquerque, New Mexico. Moving on, this Saturday night, folks, set your DVRs, because a couple of weeks ago, I came out with the new list of my must-see TV 5, and this guy was there with a bullet. From Quebec City, Canada on ESPN, super middleweight contender, in fact, rated number 1 by Ring Magazine. Christian Mbili takes on the old veteran Sergey Deryevchenko. This is going to be a war.
Oh, that should be good. We're having some pretty good cards back to back here.
Yeah, consider this about Mbili. 27-0, 23 knockouts. He's a guy that attacks the body. I want to know how much Deryevchenko has left, because even though it's only a 20-fight career, he's packed a lot of career in that. His only losses are to Munguia, Carlos Adames, Triple G, Danny Jacobs, and Jamal Charlo.
It's only the best.
If he has his legs and he can plant off the back foot, because the one thing about Mbili, he blitzes you right off the bat. As I like to say, he doesn't just fight like he's double parked. He fights like he's double parked while robbing a bank. He wants to get to that dinner reservation in about 15 minutes. And one of these days, and we saw this with Beck the Bully against Gabe Rosado, when Beck the Bully was just coming in unfettered, reckless, and bang. I wonder, does Deryevchenko have enough in the tank to land that one perfect shot right up the middle. If he does, I think there's some real danger in the first half of this fight. Also on this card, and I love this, maybe my number one prospect right now in boxing. I don't think he's ready to fight for a title quite yet, but Abdullah Mason, the young butcher out of Cleveland, Ohio, last fought on July 6th. He's coming right back on this undercard.
Good for him.
So I love the fact he's staying active. Also, Jahai Tucker, another top-ranked prospect, is on the card. All right, let's go to the Ask Mario segment of this program. Here's one from Hamed. Who do you guys favor if Virgil Ortiz fought Teofimo Lopez at 154?
Why is he going to go all the way to 154? He's a
Well,
140
he's
pounder.
calling out Crawford.
Yeah, he's calling out Crawford just the way Crawford's calling out Canelo, just because it's a big payday and that's 2 weight classes.
But you know what the difference is? I believe Terrence. I don't believe Teo.
Oh no, I believe Teo wants a piece of Crawford. You don't think so?
No, I don't.
I do.
Okay.
He wanted Lomachenko and no one did. He wanted Taylor. Why doesn't he? You know why I think he wants
same
Crawford?
weight class though. Those were the same weight classes.
You know why I think he would want Crawford? I think because he's so selective now, purely economical reasons. And I think he thinks that he's getting a little bit older and he'll be able to. He has a little too much for him. I feel he thinks that way. I'm not saying it's true, but I do believe him. He's crazy enough to believe that and to want that. I don't think he wants to entertain anybody else at 154, just like Crawford doesn't want to entertain anybody else at 160 or 68 unless it's Canelo. So that's not even worth entertaining.
Virgil Ortiz, his style, the way he attacks right up the middle, putting the size aside, it's kind of fits what Teofimo wants. Fastballs down the middle.
Oh, if you want to entertain the fight, just as a hypothetical, there's other fights I'd much rather see. Then yeah, that style's perfect for him as far as executing the way he likes to execute.
Here's one from the only Sancho, our old friend. Ask that boxer apologist Mario Lopez why when it comes.
I like his labels for
why when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, he doesn't have any criticism of his inactivity.
I do. What do you mean?
Being the reason he's hot and cold.
I do. I wish I was pissed when you told me last time he turned down that fight. I think it's foolish. I think it's ridiculous that they don't want to not only continue to apply their craft. You don't want to make money. That's the main thing. You don't want to get better. You want to build your brand. I like that he searches for the big fights. He calls out the big names. But in the interim, you got to stay busy. You got to work on your craft. You got to want to get better. You want to call out the Crawfords, the Lomas, the Josh Taylors. Okay, you got to fight these other guys in the interim as well. So, yeah, it does bother me. It bugs me that he turned down this fight. When was the date?
September 27th.
Yes, that's awful.
And then he said, well, I didn't want to fight on a Friday.
What the hell is that? What do you mean on a Friday? What are you, Jewish? You got to take it off the Shabbat? What's the matter with you?
There's nothing in life that you do less that you get better at. And keep this in mind, Mario. And again, you know the mantra, activity matters. Did you know that when he beat Josh Taylor in what may have been his most sharp performance at the world-class level, that was his third fight in 10 months? That played a factor.
It did.
While Josh Taylor was like 16 months off.
You're right.
Now, I actually think based on the way the ESPN dates with Top Rank are being doled out post-Labor Day, he may not fight the rest of the year. And what was the agenda at the beginning of this year? He's going to fight 4 times this year. He's going to get back on track. And then he decided to pull the plug. That is disappointing. There's no doubt about that.
And it's not just disappointing. I think it's foolish.
Agreed. So, yeah, there's Sanch. That was critical of Lopez, and he hates being critical.
The only Sanch, Wanch, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's right. He's a boxing apologist.
Yes. Here's one from Troy Williams. Do you think Canelo and boxing will eventually lose their traditional 2-fight dates on Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day weekend to the UFC? From the outside looking in, it may seem that way, especially this upcoming September.
I think they'll definitely lose it this upcoming September. It would be different if Canelo was fighting either Benavidez or Crawford, but considering he's not, even though they had all their antics, and it's, by the way, props to whoever is coaching Canelo in his English. It has come such a long way, and it's so entertaining. And I love me a pissed off Canelo when he starts talking in English.
You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of those guys when I went to Placerita Junior High School at the beginning of 7th grade in Valencia, California. That's where I was. Some of these kids had no idea how to speak English. By the beginning of the 8th grade year, they'd be like, wow, you've really he goes, yeah.
You've come a long way.
He's no longer ESL. He's good.
He immersed himself.
Yeah.
No, he must practice as hard as he trains. Yeah. And it's entertaining. I love it. Unfortunately, I think this coming Mexican Independence Day, they are going to lose to the UFC as far as the attention, the buzz, economically. I think the Sphere itself is a huge factor. It's
an attraction.
It's an attraction.
Just the way the Cowboy Stadium was 12, 13 years ago.
It's the first combat sporting event that's ever going to take place there in the UFC, and it's a good card. So that's going to be tough. It would be different if it wasn't. But once you get that, and if it ends up being a great night of fights, and the buzz is great, and Turkey's going to be His Excellency is behind that too, part of Riyadh season. I think it's going to be tough, man. You have to have the right matches, or else forget about it. Unlike the UFC, who's like the NFL, it doesn't matter who you line up because
brand.
It's the brand.
It's the logo.
And they're all going to be competitive. In boxing, you're going to have the right matches.
So, from a pure matchup standpoint, in terms of the viability of what's being thrown out there, the last 2 weeks in boxing, even though we had, I would say, fairly significant underdogs, I knew people that I trust in boxing, from matchmakers, observers, people in the sport, and the guys that really know, the gamblers. I had guys telling me, Steve, Madrimov and Bohachuk are live, and they are legitimate. And you know what? They're going to make it at least a good fight, and I'm going to put a little money. I'm going to play the numbers. Nobody is saying that about Berlanga. He is what they call a no-hoper. So that is tough to sell.
Not if you ask him.
Right. Okay, he might hit and Fat Joe. But I believe
Fat Joe.
But on that night, you know what they're going to do? Lean back. I don't think it's much of a fight. Yeah, I said
That's a very current reference for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. It was actually, early 2000s?
Yeah,
right.
yeah, well, that's current for you.
I don't know a single person that actually thinks that's going to be competitive.
When you see them, and you saw the press conference, which was entertaining, Berlanga's a big dude. He does look significantly bigger than Canelo.
Yeah, but he's a guy that's faced Kovalev and Bivol.
No, I know. I don't think it's.
Here, size doesn't matter.
No, it does not matter.
Here's one from David. Mario, there seems to be a beef developing. Canelo Alvarez versus His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. Turki mocked Canelo for taking easy fights. Canelo mimicked Turki holding hands. It seems that there will be a never be harmony in boxing, even with the Saudi money. What are your thoughts on this drama?
Part of me, I respect Canelo that he's literally the only one, I think, in the sport that
doesn't need him.
Essentially doesn't need him. He's done quite well. He's the box office attraction, still the number one star in the sport, has made a lot of money. And at this point in his career, he really doesn't. Look, I never would advise someone or think it's a good idea to upset someone who's got those deep pockets and that much resources, because it could be to your benefit later on. And it could be stupid, ridiculous amount of money. I mean, look at these pro golfers that are going out there.
The live.
Or look at Ronaldo in football that's playing out there. It gets into stupid, ridiculous territory money. So he doesn't need it, but then again, you've never heard anyone say, I've got too much money. You've never heard anyone say
But
that.
you know what Canelo has right now? FU money. And the difference is, you're right. He's the one guy that may be the anomaly.
Literally.
And the interesting thing is, if I'm His Excellency, I would just say, look, you don't want to take this deal? We're moving on. Let's do other fights. I think it's funny on Twitter. There's a faction now that's Team Turkey or Team Canelo. This is becoming Death Row Records and Bad Boy.
Well, Turkey just wants to give the fans the fights that the fans want to see.
Yeah, he just wants to make boxing great again.
Well, I mean, you're joking, but he does. He does. He's like a dude that's playing fantasy football, or fantasy boxing in this case, but in real life.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Look at the card we had in L.A. Okay,
has it ended?
Yeah, well, that's one. But no, but that was a great. But that was great. That was a great night. That was a great event. So if we can have more of those, that's better for the sport. Everyone wins. How can you get mad at that?
Yeah. Here's one from Carl Brandt. Agree or disagree? Virgil's stock went down despite him getting the decision, while Bohachuk's stock went up despite him losing. Virgil didn't look in tip-top shape. He was sloppy. He got hit too much. And a lot of people thought he lost the fight. Isn't that a tad harsh?
That is a tad. And I don't agree with it.
Come on.
I think both.
Guy gave us a great fight.
I think both their stocks went up. I think Virgil, like I said, showed different layers that we didn't know he necessarily had.
Corazon.
Lot of heart.
That heart.
A lot of heart. A lot of balls. He was in fantastic shape. they were throwing chingazos till the end of the 12th round. The way he was able to close out the show, he fought like a champion, and he showed it. I just think Bohachuk,
That's it.
who a lot of people didn't know him now.
They know him now.
And he's a bad dude, and he's a skilled, talented, tough dude. And I think both their stock rose. Whenever you have a fight of the year, I don't think anyone loses.
Look, you give me an effort like that, you empty the bucket, and you leave a piece of yourself in the ring, hats off.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. Here's one from Derek Batista. Where does Charles Conwell fit in the top of the division at junior middleweight? Seems like he was one opportunity away from vaulting himself into the 54 elite. Mario, Charles Conwell comes with a very good amateur background, represented us in the Olympics a while back. Solid. I like him. Scored a second-round knockout over Chiari Gray. Golden Boy made a couple of key signings this past summer and spring.
Hirarte?
Irate's a prospect who has a very high ceiling,
Yes, he's
like the
looking
Sistine Chapel, right? But I would say that Conwell and Kenneth Sims, within a year or two, should be in the mix for a title. I asked both of them. Conwell has an old soul. He reminds me of those guys in the 80s and 90s, much like Bruce Carrington. Those guys I saw that, man, this guy's solid. He's good all around. May not be great at one particular thing, but very well-rounded. And I think in the right spot can absolutely win a belt at 54. And he told me during the post-fight press conference, he said, look, I love the main event with Bohachuk and Ortiz. I would have beat both guys tonight. And you know what? The way he said it, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to deny you. I kind of believe that you believe it. So
I like the confidence.
Conwell is going to be a player at junior middleweight. Very good, solid prize fighter. Okay. Here's one from the Mex. Best thing. If this happens, Ortiz versus Bud, Zepeda versus Shakur, does it do big business, and where will this land? Doesn't this belong in America?
Well, if it does happen, it's because of Turkey, number one.
It does.
Which we were just talking
There's no
about.
doubt.
And that is awesome if that's on a card. Gosh, I hope it does. I hope it does.
It belongs
end up
here.
And I'm sure it belongs here, but I guess he can have it wherever he wants. I know he wants to try to build up Saudi Arabia too. But yes, here, even LA, it would be huge. But here in Vegas, I will take, and I really hope that comes to fruition. That'd be awesome. I did like Ortiz's call out of the winner of Spence and Fundura. I'll tell you why. Because I think he needs another fight at 54 if he is going to entertain fighting Bud. And I also think,
you think he's not ready then? So you've changed your tune in 20 minutes.
I didn't change my tune. I said, let's find out. Yeah. I said, let's do it. But I said, could he use, because that was his first fight at 54. Think about it. I could use one more fight there? Sure. And I think, let's assume it's Spence for a second who's victorious. That's a huge fight. They could do that at Cowboy Stadium. Both of them are from Dallas. There's history there. That could be a huge hometown event fight. That could be huge, big business. Then on the heels of that, how big would Bud and Ortiz be? Because I don't think we're going to have Bud and Canelo anymore. That ship has sailed. But Bud and Ortiz at that point, should Spence be victorious and then Ortiz beats him, that'll be a huge, huge fight. So I like that.
From your lips to the Saudi Arabian wallet. Here's one from Ash Ketchum. 2 questions. Do you agree with me that Inoue's possible run at 126 becomes a lot less difficult with Renato Lopez getting heamed into the graveyard? And did Virgil's performance concern you as it pertains to how he'd fare against Crawford? We discussed that. Here's what I think. Because Angelo Leo is tighter technically and fundamentally more sound, no, I actually think, to me, Leo, with his soundness and his fundamental grounding, he leaves less openings for the monster.
Yes. Leo is more of it would be more of a comparison for Inoue, who's more fundamentally sound.
Right.
So I think, that would be a tougher, sort of a tougher out for him. Look, I think Inoue is on a whole nother level and firing on all cylinders. But yeah, that's a deep division, and he would have it tough with him, but I don't think you can favor anyone over Inoue at this point.
Right.
Final flurries.
All right, moving on to Final Flurry. So, Mario, I made my final Las Vegas visit for the summer, and on Friday, I went to the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame bowling event. Shout out to Michelle Corrales, the widow of the great Diego Chico Corrales, bought this great shirt, and Rich Murata. They do a great job. Got to see Zab Judah. Winky Wright. I had not seen him in years, and
That's
I told
my
him,
guy.
I said, Winky, I just want you to know one thing. The way you went to France and crafted a career and made sacrifices, I have so much respect for you. Saw Ishe Smith. Had a great conversation with him. Got to see Nonito and Rachel Daner. By the way, the Filipino Flash, not retired. Just want to let you know.
Okay.
He said, Steve, one day I'm going to wake up and not want to do this. As of right now, I want to do this. He said there were some issues in the Santiago fight that I don't want to talk about, but Steve, I'm ready to win fights again. The most special moment, it was in the beginning and at night. I have not seen Layman Brewster in about nearly 20 years.
Damn.
He was part of a special group of young men that I got to cover when I first came up, when I was a much younger man. His hair was a different color. When he was first managed by Willie Gault. I don't know if people know that. The former
Willie Gault, the football player, yes.
Yeah.
So when did Sam Simon come into his
A little bit later. Sam Simon was a great friend of mine. I had no idea who Sam Simon really was.
Really?
Till people,
From The Simpsons? Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
and Taxi, really. Yeah. And we had a great conversation about one of the most special nights ringside I've ever had, and you were there, and I'm going to tell you a funny story. It was April of 2004 when he upset Vladimir Klitschko.
I was at that fight.
Yes, you were at Mandalay Bay, by the way.
Yes.
And he told me the whole story about the emotions going in that Bill Slayton had died. And he actually said, you're going to have to kill me to beat me, Klitschko, at the press conference. He got very emotional. We went through that whole night, and I'll never forget Doug Fisher, my partner at Max Boxing at the time, one of them, having his first child. So he didn't, for like 2-3 months, he didn't go to fights. Back then, Mario, I don't know if you know this, but they used to have late night fights on Saturday night flights, Southwest, going back to LA. So I would fly up.
They used to have 6 a.m. flights. So I would stay up all night, party.
No, they still have those flights.
No, they don't. Not 6 a.m. And then I'd not get a hotel, hang, eat, drink, whatever, and catch a 6 a.m. flight and go fly back home.
Right. So
Do you remember those? You
Yes.
don't know those.
So there was a period of time I would land in Las Vegas at about 2 or 3, meet up some people, have lunch, make my rounds, watch a fight, go to Las Vegas, and leave by 12:30 and be home by about 1:45.
Dude, that's great. That's like coming home from a club.
They don't have that anymore.
I know they don't have that
I think
anymore.
the casino said, hey, guys, you're killing our business here, okay? So they don't want you to get away in Southwest.
Yes.
So anyway, when I watched that fight when I got home, I'll never forget, I'm watching the whole ending of the broadcast. You're in there. When Klitschko got decked and everyone's jumping, you were wearing a white shirt. And I remember watching, I was like, oh my God, that's Lopez. I went through it like the Zapruder film, like, frame by frame. That's Lopez.
Really?
You were very excited. You actually.
Dude, that was huge. That was a big upset. He was training wild card at the time,
Let me
so I
just
got
tell
to
you
know
something.
Layman.
You're like Mexican Vince Carter. Your vertical that night, it's pretty impressive. You
can tell now. I want to see it.
And then Layman, I talked about what we were doing. He goes, oh, Steve, I used to spar with Mario. Because I moved around with him.
Yeah,
he was pretty good.
Yeah, thank
Great
you.
guy. Layman
He's a
Brewster,
great guy.
one of the greatest
man.
people I've ever met. And then also, during that bowling night, there was a lane open, so Ignacio said, Steve, let's bowl.
Oh, we got video of that. We
Oh
got to
my
put it up
God.
there.
No, don't.
The video.
Don't.
You might be the worst bowler I've ever seen in my life. But I credit the bowling because you had to wear bowling shoes. Had they let you wear chanclas, I think you could have bowled a 300.
Actually had my Adidas on, so I didn't get the bowling shoes. I wore out the gutter ball thing. I mean, I actually had a couple of strikes.
You're no Mookie Betts.
Well, let me just put it this way. I have not bowled in about 30 some odd years, and I bowled 2 games. Now, the first game, I actually broke 111.
Yeah, right.
I was actually happy with that. On Saturday, I woke up thinking I needed Tommy John surgery.
Dude, if you don't bowl in a while, and you go bowling for a long time, you can feel it, huh?
I always tell people I work out, but I don't play sports, and it's a difference. Because when I'm just...
I've seen you work out, Kim. You don't really work out. The only thing you work out is your jaw.
No.
Your jaw should be like...
He's
Yeah,
tweeting.
and
Your
tweeting.
jaw
My
should be
fingers
like,
are
yeah,
strong.
your fingers and your jaw. Your jaw should look like Dolph Lundgren and Rocky IV. And your fingers should have muscles like Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff back in the
Crush
day.
American Ninja Warrior.
by the third
Right,
by the
rock
third frame, I'm like, oh my God, my right shoulder is throbbing. And I'm not, I don't know how to spin the ball, so I have to be one of those straight line guys.
Yeah, you got to go a little to the left. stuff, and thumb in the ear. Just
but
boom,
I
thumb in the
probably
ear.
bowled about 4 strikes.
Get
Yeah, I did.
You're full of shit.
Ask Ignacio. Everything else
I
was
saw the video. He sent me video.
Well,
Yeah, but
I
is
thought
this
my-
when you had the bumpers up?
no, I didn't have the bumpers up.
I think
That's
he
for
had the
kids.
bumpers. Yeah, you had like 9 gutter balls in a row, which was impressive. I didn't think
Thank you.
could
The
do that.
consistency. I was painting the corners like Greg Maddox, by the way. But it was great to see a lot of these fighters that I have not seen in a while, and it kind of struck me. These were solid men.
Yeah.
They had a
Certain
lot.
era.
They had a great foundation. They didn't complain all that much all the time. And it got me to thinking, like, you know what? I don't see that enough. Like a guy like Winky Wright, like
Love
the
that dude.
sacrifices that he'd go to HBO, and if he lost to Fernando Vargas, and I thought that was a very dubious decision, he got relegated to ESPN2 Friday Night Fights for a fraction of the money.
But he built himself
But he had to
back
do it.
up, and
Right.
I think when his crowning moment too is when he beat Trinidad.
Yes.
I was at that fight too. That was very, very impressive, and he's one of those guys. Like if you really stop and look at his career, hell of a fighter.
All-time great junior middleweight.
Yep, and hell of a resume. Southpaw. I like me some Winky Wright.
Best high guard ever.
Yeah.
That thing was like a bulletproof vest. You could not puncture
we
that
partied
guy.
Where were we, man? I don't want to tell the story, but he'll tell you.
Oh, he
laugh.
partied a lot.
We partied a couple of times together. We had a good time.
He was always a friendly guy.
Very
Just
friendly,
a
great
complete,
guy.
consummate gentleman. And Zab Judah was there with his family. And by the way, congratulations to our guy. He wasn't at the bowling event. He went to some other stuff. Tim Bradley got inducted into the Nevada
nice.
Boxing Hall of Fame, as did Sean Porter. So congratulations to all those guys. It's an
Nice.
incredible honor. Mario, unlike you, I didn't watch a single minute of the Olympics. Any particular memories?
Well, I'll give you my assessment. First of all, I was immersed in it because it was on NBC, and the shows I work on were on NBC. Well, it started off with the controversial opening ceremony, right?
That's a nice way of putting it.
And
yes.
then I liked the triathletes that couldn't swim in the Seine River because of the fecal matter. It said unsafe levels of
Wow.
fecal matter.
Wow.
To which I say, what's
Is
a
there a
safe,
safe
there's a-
yeah.
what's a safe level of fecal matter right there? And literally when they swam in there, Kim, they showed them all coming out, they were all throwing up. It was the craziest
That makes
thing.
me throw up like the Family Guy.
I just saw there's one athlete who actually couldn't make it to the closing ceremonies because he was in the hospital.
Because
from,
of the
from the
river?
water,
Oh
yes.
my gosh, that's how bad it. But the two takeaways for me, the dude from Turkey, you remember you saw him, all the memes and stuff. Everybody had their special lenses and goggles, and he
Yeah.
the one of the shooter. He went in there, hand in pocket, and just John Wick style, boom, and just shot his way to a silver medal. I couldn't even tell you who took gold, but that guy was awesome. And then the Australian breakdancer. Did you see when I posted that? Dude, that was so funny. I
Yeah,
thought
he
we were getting
broke all the
trolled.
rules all right. He broke all the
No,
rules.
she was
did, yeah.
Yeah. She was an Australian breakdancer, and I can't believe Australia sent. It's like she lied on her resume when she got the job, and it was hilarious. Someone who grew up breaking, I was like, yo, I think I could have. Now I think they're eliminating breakdancing in the next Olympics. She single-handedly brought down the whole
Yes, but
sport.
she's famous.
But all in all, man, it's over now, and the next time it's going to be here in LA.
That's terrible.
Can you imagine? No, come
I
on.
hate that. All the
Last time I was here was
traffic.
'84.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Great Olympics.
Great Olympics. So let's say it might be another great one to do, but the traffic's going to be mean. But in
Right,
84,
I hate that. I might go on vacation.
Dude, I'm going to be
So I
here.
want to let the 3 Knockdown Rule audience know, for the 2 weeks of the Olympics in 2028, we're probably going to be on hiatus.
No.
Wow.
I'm gonna.
We're gonna be next week.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
true.
No, I want to go cover the wrestling and the whole thing. It's going to be. I want to check it out. So, I'm actually excited that it's going to be here in LA. I think I'll get into it a little bit more.
Interesting.
Yes.
84 Olympics. Where does the time go?
And I remember it pretty vividly too.
So do I. I watched a lot of it. Back when there was one network,
Remember
ABC.
Edwin Moses?
400-meter hurdles.
My guy looked like the founding member of
Had
Earth,
the
Wind, and
glasses.
Fire with the glasses.
When I think of the 84 Olympics, I think of
Carl
two
Lewis.
things. Carl Lewis winning 4 gold medals. Okay, 3 things. First time I
Mary
really
Lou Retton. Tell me you don't think of Mary Lou Retton.
Yeah. Also,
She was cute.
Mary Decker Tab getting tripped up
I don't know who's
by
Mary Decker
Zola
Tab?
Budd, and she started crying on the track. I felt bad for her.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Also, the other 2 things I really remember, my favorite Olympic boxing class, Meldrick Taylor,
that's
Pernell
right.
Whitaker, Virgil Hill,
Yes,
Evander
there
Holyfield,
you
Terrell
go.
Biggs, and out of East Los, Paul Gonzalez.
Yeah, won a gold medal.
Happened at the LA Sports Arena. And the other thing was the first time I really noticed the greatness of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He was so good. I don't know if you know this, Mario, but before the Olympics, after they did a training camp in San Diego, Larry Merchant got invited by Bobby Knight to watch their last practices before they went to L.A. For some reason, Larry Merchant, he was a guy that Bobby Knight said, you know what, you're a serious guy. I like you. You're fair to me, because he did a story on him. There's an interview where Bobby Knight said before he even played an NBA game, it was sometime during that whole season, the summer of '84, I'm going to tell you right now, he said, Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player ever.
And he doesn't give out compliments
He throws them around like manhole covers. And they said, are you crazy? And he said, I just want to let you guys know. He goes, I've never seen an athlete like Michael Jordan who was fundamentally as sound as he is, who competes the way he does. And he said, and the way he was raised by his parents, he's a solid individual. He goes, I'm going to tell you this right now. He's the greatest player that ever. He said that before he dribbled his first NBA game.
And it's ironic because who was Jordan's big nemesis and also an excellent player? Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas played for Bobby Knight.
Indiana.
So
and I think that's part of the problem.
You know what I mean? No, but right?
Right.
And if you watch 30 for 30 or the Last Dance,
there's a great story. So the Portland Trailblazers have like the second pick, and they already had Clyde Drexler,
who was good.
Right. And so Portland's GM was a guy named Stu Inman. So Olajuwon was going to be number one. I don't second guess that. The dream was unbelievable. Houston has number one, Olajuwon. Twin Towers with Ralph Sampson. So Stu Inman's talking to Bobby Knight before the draft. He goes, "Oh, Bobby, I know you like Jordan, but we already have a two guard. We need a center." Bobby goes, "Oh, I got the solution." He goes, "What's that?" "Play Jordan at center. You won't regret it." You know what? I would have played Jordan at center.
Wow.
Because Sam Bowie, who's all banged up.
Bowie,
Mario, I'm jealous of you. You got to interview someone from Milli Vanilli. Yes, you know it's true.
Dude, he looks good. Rob,
of course he does. He's
Morvan.
Rob.
And he's all jacked, too. He was all
blame it on the rain.
thing. He still sings those songs now. He took lessons. He sings
Good.
the songs.
Oh, he's singing them. Oh, okay.
You saw the documentary, right?
Yeah.
Did you see the documentary?
I saw parts of it.
What do you mean parts of it? It's like a one thing. How can you not?
I saw the trailers.
You saw the trailers? That's not even. You got to watch it. It's great. And now there's a scripted.
I live the album. I still have it on cassette.
Dude, the album is dope.
It's good. Whoever did it, kudos to you. Whoever did it.
I don't think in this day and age they would have gotten all that grief because everybody's
it's
got
expected.
it.
Auto-tune.
Yeah, exactly.
It was Fab, not Rob.
Yeah.
It was
Rob's
Fab.
dead.
Yeah, the
Rest
other
in
one's
peace.
not
Rest
there.
in peace. It was
Rest
Fab.
in peace to him.
Rob and Fab.
Yeah, blame it on the rain.
Yeah.
He was great. He was great. You know who wrote that song?
Who?
Diane Warren.
Who's she?
Diane Warren's been nominated for like 50 Oscars. An older white woman that you wouldn't expect. That's what was so random right there. She never was. She's like the Susan Lucci. But no, he was cool, man, and he looks really good, and he's got 4 kids now. He's touring, still doing all the songs. So he was doing his thing. There's a concert coming up. I was going to tell you, see if you wanted to roll. It was all kinds of like 80s acts and all this. I'm going to find it in.
Long as it's not on a Saturday during college football season, I would consider it.
God, what do you think? It's on a fucking Tuesday? All right.
Yeah. By the way, I still remember when they got outed, when they were in concert. I think it was in Kansas City, and they were doing a song, and the record or whatever they're playing got stuck on. Yes, you know it's. Yes, you know it's. Yeah, and they're like after the 10th one, they're like, uh-oh. Yeah. They both ran back to the stage, and it just ended. And I remember.
Do you think that was done on purpose?
No, I think they were making too much money, and then they went on Arsenio Hall show to try to sing. Didn't help their cause.
That didn't
help their cause.
I know. Remember that? I know.
But I love those guys. Great album.
They were great.
They're
the album was great.
I'm
glad you didn't change. Good for you.
I'm a Milli Vanilli fan, and I have no issues.
Hey, I'm proud to say that too.
Yeah. Mario, did you feel the earthquake? Our second one in a week.
Dude, we felt it. We were
that was
in
pretty
this
big
studio.
one.
We were doing the radio show, and it was good. We were like, and it went on for like a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was looking at the TVs and everything.
Kept moving.
Yeah.
It actually, the epicenter was right by my house in Pasadena.
Is your house still up?
It's still so far so good. Yeah, no, so far so good. But yeah, man, I hope that's not a sign of like what's to come.
No,
I got to finish the backyard and stuff. We got to play bocce and stuff. I can't have all that happening.
Oh man, it's fun. Even though we've been through a lot of earthquakes, the one that I remember the most,
the Northridge one, 94.
Well, for me, it's 87 Whittier.
Wasn't as big as the Northridge one.
No, it wasn't. But I was at Montebello High School. It's about 15 minutes from first bell ringing. We're all at the center area near Senior Park, and all of a sudden the window starts shaking. And I had never been through one like that. I could still hear the exact. No. We're outside. The school hadn't started. We're all milling around. And so they took all the students towards the baseball field. They didn't know what to do, and kids just started jumping over the fence, and they finally said, okay, you're off school.
Everybody go home.
There was Escape from Montebello High School. Northridge was the biggest one that I can say I lived through. That was a huge one.
Bad.
But hopefully this is the worst one we've had.
No,
Let's
prayers
just get
up.
it out of our. All right, next week we're gonna have a special in-studio guest. We're not going to give it away, but I think it's a bright young fighter and a guy that we've known for years as a very dear friend of ours. Anyway, I'd like to thank everyone that made this show
my
possible.
food review guy.
Right. Smoke and Tim Frazier and Tino on the edit. So on behalf of Mario Lopez and Hustler Casino, this has been the 3 Knockdown Rule.